Tov starts. No bracha, no nothing. You transfer from it using either a shish kebab skewer or a long fireplace match, and you bring that over to whatever you're trying to light, whether it be the candles for the second day of Yom Tov, and you'll be lighting those on the second day of Yom Tov, not in the late afternoon of the first day, because you cannot light the candles for the second day of Yom Tov when it is still the first day of Yom Tov. Remember, first day of Yom Tov is D'Oraisa. Second day of Yom Tov, according to the Torah, is Wednesday, or whatever it is. Okay, it's not Yom Tov. Okay, it's only rabbinically Yom Tov, and therefore you cannot light those candles on the first day of Yom Tov. So what you do is, when you come home from synagogue, right before Kiddush, you light those candles from a pre-existent flame. Now, what do you do now with that skewer? You then blow it out, push that like that? No, you can't. You have to put it down. Let's say you get a shot glass or some other type of glass, something that's not as long as the remaining part of the candle, and you turn the candle upside down, in other words, where the flame is up, and put the wood part or whatever in the cup so it stands up, and it will go out on its own. You cannot put the match out, okay? Putting the match down on a piece of glass, like the glass box that holds the candles or something, by most opinion, is fine. There is the stringent opinion which says, look, when I take a thing like this, if this is the match, so the flame is on both sides. When I put the thing down, I'm extinguishing the bottom side. That is a stringency, okay, to hold like that. Many are careful with that, and that's why people tend to put them upside down in a shot glass. Shot glass is, for those of you who aren't American, something like you drink vodka from, one of those little things, okay? You just stick the wood part that's not on fire down at the bottom, and let the thing go out on its own. Another thing is, if you have an extra candlestick, stick the match with the non-burning part into an empty candlestick, and it'll stick there until it'll go out on its own. Okay, no problem. If you don't have this option, putting it down on the counter, you haven't really extinguished. There are plenty of opinions that say that this is fine. Okay. Yet, if you hear people saying, "Oh, let's have a barbecue on Yom Tov," very highly problematic, because as people are stoking the coals and turning them over, there's a lot of extinguishing going on while you're in the process of making things continue to burn. Do not do this. Okay. There is no need on Yom Tov to have a blech or plata. You can use the fire directly. The food that can be put on can be cold, raw, and frozen. Okay, so there's absolutely no issue of the 5 rules of returning something to the fire. I could take a raw piece of frozen chicken and water out of the sink, put it into a pot, and stick it directly on the exposed fire. No problem. If I'm cooking for Yom Tov, okay? So again, don't get confused. They may ask this question in the Beis Din, something to the effect of, so what about when you wish to return something to the flame on Shabbos or Yom Tov? Your immediate response should be, there's no issue with Yom Tov. Okay, except that I have to make sure that the fire I bring it from originally existed. Okay, there is a problem though. I am assuming in America it's now illegal to have the old gas. Even I've seen in the camping stoves they don't have this, okay, anymore. If there's a wind and your fire is blown out, it does not continue to leak gas anymore, because there is a safety feature. In Israel, the newer stoves, the ones that have come out in the past couple of years, okay, all of them now have the safety feature. They have not revoked the old ones, like going into people's homes, so I don't know what the Sobosinskis have in their home. But ours, for example, we cannot light the fire. We cannot transfer fire onto our gas stove on Yom Tov. Why? What's going on? When you have a modern gas stove, which is a safety feature, what goes on is there's a piece of titanium in the shape of an hourglass that's bent not only this way but also this way. Okay, as it heats up, it expands and kind of clicks up like one of those kid toys that looks like a ruler and then rolls up into like a ball, right? So as it expands in heat, okay, which only takes it about 2 seconds. Our stove says 3 seconds. I've tried it 2 seconds and done. Okay, it will keep the gasway opened. Once you light the fire, then that thing expands internally. You don't see it. And holds the gasway open. If the fire blows out, within about 10 seconds, it cools down and closes the gasway. The whole thing just goes. This is building a bridge. Okay, in the same way as building a electric circuit. So, although the Shabbos books that you'll see, Shmir Shbak Chata, and many of these other ones speak about, yes, you can light onto a gas stove, they're not talking about the gas stoves that we all knew since we were kids. That's not the stoves that exist today. Today, they're safer. So, therefore, in reality, if your stove is not in America, approximately 10 to 15 years old, in Israel, check it out. It's it's pretty recent. Okay, if your stove is not the old type, you cannot transfer heat onto a fire onto your gas stove. The only thing you're going to be transferring the flame for is for lighting your Shabbos candles. That's it. Because other than that, Shabbos candles, Yom Tov candles. Other than that, the stove issue has become history. Because of therefore you have to have the fire on before Yom Tov. If the fire is on before Yom Tov on a stove, you're fine, okay? The problem is you guys are living in America, that means you've got a 3-day Yom Tov. I mean, it's a massive pain in the neck, okay? Yom Tov, Shabbos, okay? Like, come on, okay, the fire's on for 3 days, right? But that's it. There's no way around it. Okay. Okay. If you have an electric stove or plata, it can, yes, be set. You cannot do anything with the electric clock, but you can set it to go on and off on a 3-day Yom Tovs. Okay? They have today the digital ones. You can get on, I think it's called Kosher Innovations site. There are clocks that are set for 3 days. Okay, each day can be different for like a 3-day Yom Tov. Okay, and these things will turn on your stove, and you can, of course, your plata can go off on Shabbos. But if that 3rd day is Shabbos, you cannot have the plata going on Shabbos, because even though it's backed up onto Yom Tov, as soon as Shabbos starts, all the food has to have been on the plata before Shabbos. And if you want the heat to go off on Shabbos by the mechanical thing, no problem. It just can't go back on. Because if it's going back on, you can't use it. Okay? If it was off when Shabbos started, I couldn't care less that it's on now. I mean, we have 5 rules of returning to the source of heat still exist. Okay? No distinction between Shabbos then and Shabbos, which is not attached to the Yom Tov. Okay? Okay. You may see in many, many homes, okay, that on Yom Tov, people are still using platas and blechs. It's not for halachic reasons. The plata is nice because it's easy to, set it to a clock and not going to burn things. But the blechs, for example, our fire is always covered. This is not a chumrah. This has nothing to do with halacha. You got a house with 8 kids. It's people running back and forth. I don't want an exposed fire for 3 days with people going back and forth and little kids in dresses and everything else. So we just cover the fire. People know to be aware of a blech. They see a blech, they stay away from it. Okay, they're used to that their whole life, right? They see the stove just sitting there, they're not used to it, and all of a sudden things go on fire. So even though you may see in probably most homes who are following this, is that yes, they have a blech or plata on Yom Tov, it is non-necessarily halachically, but it is a very high preferability for safety. Okay.
Rabbi,
Yeah.
What about using like a programmed crock pot?
On Yom Tov,
Mm-hmm.
no problem. On Shabbos, it's a problem.
But going into Shabbos, like if you have food put in the crock pot to cook, say that would be ready for say.
As long as the source of heat was on before Shabbos,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as the food is um, edible before Shabbos or not cooked at all.
Okay.
In other words, completely raw. The reasoning is that food that I could put on 10 minutes before Shabbos, I could take, half a cow and some water and, and stick it in a big pot, right, and stick it on the blech. Why? No one is afraid that I'm going to sit there Friday night and, stir it and get it ready and, maybe raise the heat, because the thing is so far from being done, okay,
Right.
that it's not a problem. Or if it is already edible, so we're not worried that it's going to get to the point of being, just where you want it, because it's plenty of time.
Right.
In between completely raw and already edible, you're not allowed to start Shabbos with the food in that situation on the even covered fire, because you may come to start looking and seeing what's going on. In fact, if it's not fully cooked, even just lifting the lid and putting it back on,
And cool it off enough to where.
Is no, because when you put the lid back on, you're increasing the heat,
Right.
and that's helping to cook. So that you can't do. Now, as far as a crock pot, we mentioned it in the laws of Shabbos. There is a problem. Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, who was one of the head rabbis of the generation when I was younger, his last judgment, crock pots were just becoming in fad here in Israel. And my rabbi was taking care of him when he was ill in the hospital. He died just a few days later. They brought him a crock pot to ask, what's the deal with this thing? Because we have a separate issue on Shabbos. It's not a problem on Yom Tov. We have a separate issue on Shabbos called hatmana. Hatmana means cooking by surrounding heat. Okay, what did they used to do before crock pots, way back when, before people had a stove? People didn't have stoves sitting in their courtyards or in their homes. It was something which you went to the baker and you used theirs. Okay, you may have a little thing with some fire and 2 sticks on top of it or something like that. But one of the methods of keeping food hot in your own dwelling was you would make a fire before Shabbos, get some red hot coals that you would mix with oil, or something like, olive seeds or something like that that would become red cinders that was kind of moldable. Okay, they would dig a hole and they would take a metal spatula and push these red hot coals to the walls and on the floor of this hole. They would then immerse the pot into this thing and then cover it over with some dirt, which was not muktzah because it was used to this purpose, or something else. Then on Shabbos they would brush this stuff away and with 2 claws pull this thing out. This is very nice by a goy. You cannot use this method of cooking on Shabbos for a Jew.
Okay.
Of the heat, even though I'm not stoking the fire or whatever, okay. Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, on his deathbed, the crock pot was brought to him, and he felt the sides and the bottom. He said, "This is hatmana." Now, there are different opinions that do say it's allowed. Okay, now, what Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach suggested, what ended up being what people here do. You go outside, you get 3 small little stones, about that big, okay, and you put 1, 2, 3 on the inside, and then you put the ceramic pot on top. And it's basically that far away from the lid. As you kind of insert the ceramic part of the crock pot,
So it's
and it
suspended.
just lays directly onto the metal rim. Well, this is just above that rim. And so when the crock pot's on high, if you have it on low, your chones will go off. It's not going to keep the heat so well. Because it's not touching the metal. It's not in there. Just above it. That's fine. You can do that before Shabbos. You could even return it to the same spot so long as it was completely cooked before Shabbos. If you are going to use this method, fully cook your food before Shabbos, because when the crock pot is not slammed down the way it's supposed to be, it doesn't cook very well, and you're going to breed bacteria. If this thing is going on, not boiling hot. If the item is going on, boiling hot, and just before Shabbos, you put 1, 2, 3 stones, so it's a little triangle, and you drop it on, right? You can put more, okay? 2 is going to work. It's going to be both flopping back and forth, okay? If it goes on boiling, it stays hot if you put it on high. Okay, I would experiment with your crock pot and your stones once during the week and see what goes on. Okay, now as far as crock pots on Yom Tov, no problem whatsoever. You can have it set for a certain time. You can put it on raw. You can put it on Yom Tov after. You can't turn anything. You can't affect the dial. But if it's preset, no problems.
Okay.
Nothing. No issues. Okay. Now, as far as a second. Are we talking about putting back on the fire? Also no issue. Okay, 1 second. Fine. Okay, fine. Yeah. Borer on food only. Borer on food is completely permissible on Yom Tov for purposes of Yom Tov. I can take the bones out of the chicken. No problem. Do I have to do it a strange way? Nope. Straight out. Do it right. Whatever way you want to do it. I can take the bones out of the fish. I can do whatever whatever I want with the food. No problem in borer. Okay? Now, this does not mean, we're going to take a look here. People make a big mistake. They think that, I'm allowed to cook on Shabbos, and all of the malachas related to food I'm allowed to do on Yom Tov. And the answer is no way, Jose. Very few of the malachas relating to food are allowed. In fact, let's take a look. Okay? So, sorry, where are we starting? Back. Let's go from the beginning. What's allowed on Yom Tov? The issue is clear. Anything that will realistically improve the freshness of the food is allowed to be done on Yom Tov. If it will not improve the freshness of the food in a realistic way, in a major way, then such a malacha is not allowed. So, for example, we lost Shira. Okay, Josh, could you try to pull her back? Beam her up, Scott.
Yep.
Okay.
Let me go back here and add to group. I think I kind of figured this out now. There was Shira.
You're going to have to help me with it. Yeah, when this class is over, you're going to have to help me update my Skype on this machine also.
Okay, why can't I find you, Shira? There's Savannah.
While you're doing that, I was going to make one quick phone call while we're trying to get her. Shalom Aleichem, Zalman Weiss.
Let's try. Yeah, I'm gonna try to call you back with the group.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Here we go. 1 second. Okay, she's coming or not?
Yeah, she was calling me, which is probably why I wasn't able to add her to the group. Let's see here.
Okay. Does she know how to hit join call or something like that?
I'm not sure. Let's see here. Okay, where are you, Shira? See, add more options. Add people. Shira. There we go.
There she is. Hello. Okay, so back reiteration. It is not that all the malachas relating to food are allowed on Yom Tov. No, they are not. Most are not. Only those things which add realistically to the freshness of the food. So let's go through it. Plowing? No way. What, I'm going to start growing the thing on Shabbos? Nothing. None of those malachas. What about planting? Forget it. Can't do it. What about harvesting? Nope, can't pick it. Oh, but it's a fresher apple on Shabbos. If I pick it on Shabbos, go blow it out your ear. Okay, the apple can be picked before Shabbos. Okay, which means I have a fresh spice growing my window. Couldn't I just pick it? It'll add to the freshness. No, that malacha is not allowed. Okay, harvesting? No way. Can't do it. Okay, grinding? Nope. What about grinding my pepper into my... No. Grinding's not allowed. Okay. What about winnowing? No. What about bow rear? Yes. But, as we spoke about in the beginning, no malacha that's allowed on Yom Tov that would have been prohibited on Shabbos is ever allowed 100%. There's always some part of it that's still prohibited. Bow rear, only bow rear on food is allowed. If, for example, I want to put my knives, forks, and spoons into separate piles without the special method that I taught you guys to doing on Shabbos, can't do that. Oh, but it's a food-related item. It's not food. Bow rear is only allowed on food itself. Let's say I want to, put the books away on the shelf and let's get a pile of books or put the toys away in their special compartments on Yom Tov. Isn't bow rear allowed on Yom Tov? Not for those things. It's just like Shabbos. It's only bow rear on food. So, for example, taking the seeds out of the watermelon or something like that, taking the bones out, no problem on Yom Tov. Because it's specifically for the food that you're going to eat on Yom Tov, and it's a thing which if you did it beforehand, it wouldn't be as fresh, you're fine. Okay, what do we do about after? Then we have, the grinding. When I said the grinding is not allowed, it's anything that could have been done that is done generally in large quantities cannot be done on Shabbos. For example, sifting the flour. Flour is usually sifted in large quantities, and therefore can't sift it on Yom Tov. Okay? Kneading, you would, yes, be allowed to knead your flour on Shabbos and make a bread if you've got an oven that's going to be on. The reality is, our ovens don't work that way. They've got heat sensors. And if you have it on a Shabbos setting, it's not going to bake. It's going to be warm. So bag that. But can I make my baby cereal in a normal way on Yom Tov? Yes. Yes, you can. You don't have to worry about making a thick mixture. What about making my tuna fish salad with mayonnaise? Can I do it normally? Yes. Not like Shabbos. Because it's a food-related thing, needing in small, these small quantities things, what you're going to be eating then on a day, not a problem. Okay? Okay. Let's do another example. Yom Tov. You're allowed to carry on Yom Tov. But you're only allowed to carry even if there's no Eruv, something which is necessary for Yom Tov. So let's say that Shira's friends are coming to eat at her house. There's no Eruv, and they're walking 2 miles through the Goyish area carrying the cholent. No problem. Oh, but there's no Eruv. Who cares? It's Yom Tov. I don't need an Eruv. I can carry whatever I want. If I'm carrying it for the purposes of Yom Tov. But let me give you an example. Let's say Sarah just invited the Sobosinskis over for Shabbos, for Yom Tov. You know, the last time they were here was Sukkot, and it was a little cool, so they brought sweaters. You know, by the time it got to the afternoon of Sukkot, it was a little hot. They took their sweaters off, and they forgot them. And they haven't been over since then. It's now Pesach time. They're coming again. And Shira says, hey guys, you forgot your sweaters here 6 months ago. You can carry on Yom Tov, right? So bring your sweaters home. Right, it's Pesach. It's getting warm again. Are you wearing the sweaters? No. You cold outside? No. So why do you think you're allowed to carry the sweaters on Yom Tov? Oh, because on Yom Tov you're allowed to carry. You're only allowed to carry for needs of that Yom Tov. Period. Now, where did this permissibility of carrying? It seems almost haphazard, right? We just said that the only things you're allowed to do on Yom Tov are things that help food become fresher. What does carrying have to do with this? Do you realize on Yom Tov you are allowed to shecht a cow? Think about it. Get out of your Western mentality. Forget electricity. Forget refrigerators. What do you think meat tastes like in August if I've got Shabbos, Yom Tov, 3 days old meat? No refrigeration. What do you think it tastes like? Probably like Shira's dog's breath. Okay? So we really don't want this. It's pretty gross. You may even have worms in it. By 3 days here. So this is recognized by the halacha, and therefore you can shecht a cow on Yom Tov because it's going to be if you're planning on eating that meat on Yom Tov. But I'm not allowed to kill a mosquito unless it's dangerous, like malaria or something like that, right? Why? Planning on eating the mosquito? Yeah, but you know it's bothering my Yom Tov. Excuse me. The only malachas that are allowed for purposes of food. Now let's get back to the carrying. So you're allowed to shecht that cow. Yeah. What would you do if Shmuel came into the house with the sheep and said, okay, we're shechting it right here in the living room? Okay, there's no Eruv, so let's do it right here. Wouldn't be very good for the marriage, right? You do not need to shecht it in the house. Therefore, the halacha allows the thing to be shechted outside and carried, because the carrying is considered for purposes of the food. Now, the halacha states that kevan de hutra. On this specific malacha, not necessarily any others, on this specific malacha of carrying, once we allow you to carry for purposes of food, we allow you to carry for any other reason that is specifically related to Yom Tov. I can push the stroller. What, are we eating the child? Hopefully not, okay? I want to carry my sweater. Not eating it, okay? Yeah, but I'm uncomfortable if it's going to get cold at night and I'm coming home. I can carry it, no problem, okay? So, therefore, that we do not extrapolate what is said about carrying onto the other malachas of cooking and borer and stuff like that. Absolutely not. In fact, since borer is allowed by, food, maybe I should allow it by knives, forks, and spoons? No, absolutely not. It's only stated that this concept of a broader allowance by the issue of not needing an Eruv. Okay, now, by the way, even though I don't need an Eruv, let's say that I want to go for a walk out in the woods, I still have to pay close attention to how far away from the community I'm going. I'm still only allowed to go a kilometer away. Mm-hmm. Okay, because although the issue of carrying is not a problem for purposes of Yom Tov, I can go on that walk and carry a bottle of water with me even though I'm outside the Eruv, but I do have to worry how far do I go, because the issue of Eruv Tchomim, that is still untouched by the issue of Yom Tov. And therefore, you better be careful how far you're going. Okay, if you're inside of a city, you can walk from one end of the city to the other. It makes no difference. Okay, whether there is or is not an Eruv, no problem whatsoever. It's only when you start going through valleys and stuff which are unused, and you're going to the other end of town where there's no buildings whatsoever in the in-between area, then you got a problem. Okay? Alright, so now, okay, as I said, cooking water for food is, only from a pre-existing fire, okay, no problem. But there are other things which are called shaveh b'kol nefesh, something which people all over the world do. Now, I don't necessarily see that we all do this today, but this concept of washing your hands, face, and feet in warm water, okay? Think back to a time when people didn't have showers as much, okay? So they'd warm up some water and they'd wash their hands, their face, and their feet, okay? And their body might not get, think back to Poland, okay? Freeze, okay? How many times did they, go and take a bath in the middle of, minus 40 degrees? Probably not much, okay? But like this, can you warm up water on Yom Tov for purposes of washing your hands, face, and feet from a pre-existent fire? And the answer is yes, even though it's not food, because shaveh b'chol nefesh, this word here, it means something which is equivalent to all people, and this particular, it takes it from the word that ochel nefesh, the food for all people, is allowed, and therefore something which the Talmud then says shaveh l'kol nefesh, if it's equivalent to all people, such as, and the only examples you really brought is washing hands, face, and feet in warm water, and therefore such cooking of that water for that purpose, you don't have to do kli sheni, kli shlishi, no, kli rishon, you're fine, no problem. Okay?
So you could take a normal shower.
1 second, not a shower. Just a second, hold on. Hi, Kayla, how you doing? Good, I'm in the middle of teaching a class. Did you get the email about that lady with... Okay. Right. Okay. Do you...
Josh, all I can see is your little cap.
Okay, thank you so much.
Josh,
What?
I can see your little cabinets. I can't see you.
Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Here you are.
Sorry, it's really hard to hear her.
That's
okay.
right. But like
so,
if you take a sponge bath on Yom Tov.
Okay, sponge is a different thing.
Well,
okay, now you're talking about wringing out. Can't do it.
Okay. So how would one wash their...
No, not wringing out. The kind of wringing out, which goes under laundry, or if you try to clean the sponge, or if you're trying to get the stuff on you, which would be dash, those malachas are not allowed on Yom Tov, okay? Okay, so forget that. You could warm some water and wash your hands in the basin. You could then splash it on your face and dry by patting your face off, okay? You stick your feet into the warm water. Sounds kind of gross to me, but okay. Do it with the feet after the face and hands, please. Thank you. Okay. No, you cannot do these squeezing. As far as a full bath, it's still a prohibition. Okay. Okay, so now, it's specifically hands, face, and feet only. Okay, so now, by the way, Shira, so that was my model daughter who just got married. She said like this. She's become, Baruch Hashem, she's become shumer since she left the house. When daddy tells her what to do, it's one thing. But when she's married and she has her own house, it's something else. So she's, Baruch Hashem, doing well. So she said, look, we've checked this out. The ones that really are powder, not powder in a cake
Mm-hmm.
that are like, oiled together, like the stuff that you smear it and you go like, I'm dead. But the stuff that actually is powder, that's fine. Powder in a cake form is not powder, and that's a problem.
Yeah, I had some of that, but I wanted to know the makeup that she uses where...
Right, she said like this. She checked some stuff out. She was using some other stuff. She said some of them are not that reliable. She said, I guess when you're, a teenager and you paint yourself gorgeous and just lie in your bed alone and like, don't turn your head, it might stay on. But I guess when you're married, let's not go further. I guess she's come to the realization that things don't necessarily stay the way that they were put in the beginning, right? So she said she's found that these things are not reliable, that they don't necessarily stay the way they were, okay? And therefore trying to fix it up now can be a problem, especially when removing these makeups. I remember she used to, we tried this during the week once. I'm trying to remove these things. They usually come with their own makeup remover. Each company has its own chemical anti. Like, you could be sitting there with soap and water, it stays right there, right? And you take this thing and go, whoop, it's off, right? So it's like the opposite chemical bound. Thing is, if you go or push it up, it can smear, and then when it smears, you look like Bozo the Clown, okay? And it does not come off easily with plain old liquid soap. So therefore, experiment at home on your own. Since you are a single type person, if you sleep very still, then you're probably fine if you put the stuff on before Shabbos. But it depends.
That sounds more like we do this because of the tattoo, Veronica. And it's something permanent. It sounds more tattooed than the powder.
I had a hard time hearing that. Josh, did you hear it well?
No, it was broken up.
Okay. It seems like that to put on something permanent is more like tattooing, like almost kind of like a henna tattoo. Than to put on some powder, some loose powder,
Okay.
but it won't dry.
Like tattooing is only a problem. We're not talking about on Shabbos, putting stuff on before. Tattooing is a complete prohibition. By the way, those of you who might have a pre-existent tattoo, if you wish to get it surgically removed before you're Jewish, you could. There's no obligation. Okay? If you wish to get it removed when you are Jewish, only the radiation and ultraviolet methods work by, coloring over it in some type of a skin color to kind of like, mold over it is another type of tattoo and is prohibited, okay? So now, tattooing is a problem, not surface skin painting. Surface skin painting, what they have was, let's go back to, for example, henna baths. Okay, where people would make themselves look red, okay? It would last for 3-4 days, sometimes a week, okay? That's nothing. Tattoo is when it speaks specifically in the Talmud. What does Ketobet Ka'aka, which is what the Torah tells us, what is it? It means injecting ink underneath one layer of skin, and it stays in between the layers of skin permanently. Anything less than that, which is a surface paint that kind of like is wearing away slowly, like henna, it's not a problem. Not a problem whatsoever. Okay.
I've been thinking of doing it for self-henna.
Yeah, henna, you can't do it on Shabbos, okay? But if you did the henna before Shabbos, no problem. Okay. By the way, nobody should know from it. Okay. Chas v'shalom, if anybody ever needed major breast surgery or cancer or whatever, the issue, they normally do tattooing today in the process of reconstructive surgery. Ask, if you should never know, but if people do know friends, if it never happens to you, God willing, you will probably hear of friends, okay? And this issue comes up. It is not so simple. You cannot tell the doctor to go and do it. If it's standard procedure and the goy does it to the Jew as a medical procedure in this thing, there are those who allow it, Okay, but again, it's something to be asked at the time. Let's hope you don't have to deal with it. But people do over the course of a lifetime. These issues come up between friends. Okay, we know a friend who did, and she had a heter from the Rebbeim to the doctor was saying, well, it's part of the standard surgery. She wasn't ordering it specifically, and it was done, and she didn't have to stop him from doing it. Okay, we shouldn't know from that. Okay, next. Okay. Pretty much all other malachas, other than borer, kneading, cooking, shechting, and carrying, are exactly the same as Shabbos. And all of those, as you've already heard, are not canceled either. They each have their own parts that are still there. Cooking can't be done regularly. Borer is only on certain parts of borer. Shechting is only those things that are going to be eaten, not something which is which is bothering me. Kneading is only kneading that which I'm going to be using on Yom Tov, only that which is food product, not like mixing two different types of glue together or something like that, right? And carrying only for the needs of the Yom Tov. Okay, fine. Now let's go on to specific halachas of the Yom Toving. While each Yom Tov follows the same restrictions of the 39 malachas, each Yom Tov has their own list of specific restrictions or requirements. Okay. Remember, there are only 4 holidays that are referred to as Yamim Tovim, the good days, okay? They are the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 pilgrimage festivals, which are Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. And then there's the other one, which is Rosh Hashanah, not Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is not Yom Tov. Kippur is Shabbos, even if it's on Tuesday. It's called Shabbat Shabbaton. It follows the rules of Shabbos. Anybody who starts to think that Yom Kippur follows the rules of Yom Tov is actually doing a prohibition on Yom Kippur. No, you cannot heat something up or transfer a fire or do any borer or anything else. Yom Kippur is Shabbos, 100%. It is actually called the Shabbos of Shabboses, okay? So there are only 4 Yom Tovs: Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, and Rosh Hashanah, period. Hanukkah, Purim, Tisha B'Av, all these other holidays, this is rabbinic holidays. They've got nothing to do with 39 malachas whatsoever. None of these rabbinic holidays have any semblance of any of the 39 malachas. Okay, let's deal with a subject called Eruv Tav Shilin. Write this one down. Eruv Tav Shilin. Okay, we're going to call it a halachic bridge. So the question could be, can I cook food on Yom Tov for Shabbos? I've got Yom Tov, Shabbos. Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos. Very common. Happens a lot. Okay? Especially outside of Israel. 3-day Yom Tov is, you've got a couple of these every year probably. Right? So now, from Shabbos to Yom Tov, you can't cook. Absolutely not. Because Shabbos, I'm not allowed to cook at all. Not even for Shabbos. Right? So, of course, I can't cook from Shabbos to Yom Tov if I can't even cook from Shabbos to Shabbos. Right? Okay, so, but what about Yom Tov to Shabbos? Yeah, what's your...
I didn't say anything.
Oh, no, I thought it was a question. Okay. So, here we go. You are only allowed to cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos if and only if you have an Eruv Tav Shilin. Okay, what is it? Let's just call it... I'll translate it once, but then let's forget the translation. It means a commingling of different types of cooking. Okay, bag it. Let's just call it a halachic bridge between Yom Tov and Shabbos. It's forbidden to perform any of the malachas that are normally permitted on Yom Tov for any day after Yom Tov, even for Shabbos. The only reasons for the leniencies that exist on Yom Tov as opposed to Shabbos is because the Torah tells us that we're allowed to prepare food for Yom Tov on Yom Tov. Because it says, Ochel Nefesh Bilvad. As soon as you do an act on Yom Tov, not for the purpose of that specific Yom Tov, you're in a situation of prohibition. Even if it's the meal I'm going to have right after, I want to have a malava malka after Yom Tov. Tough. Can't cook it. My mother-in-law is coming 20 minutes after Yom Tov. Tell her to wait. Okay. But the Talmud worked out a halachic bridge because there's a problem. It's called Yom Tov Shabbos. Happens all the time. So just remember, your refrigerator has only been around for about 100 years. Okay, and in many places in the world, it still is not there. Go to a lot of places in Mexico, no refrigerators. How do you have food stay good for 3 days? You don't. Okay, you can have, what's the bread look like? You don't even want to know. Okay, and what is the the kugels and everything else look like? You want to count the different types of worms? I mean, you've got no refrigeration. It's hot Mexico. What does your food look like? Disgusting. Okay? It's disgusting. Okay, so therefore, if you want to have matzah for Shabbos and wine and end it there, maybe an apple, then you'd be fine. But the Talmud worked out something. It worked out this halachic bridge. When Shabbos comes directly after Yom Tov, and there's no break, it's not Yom Tov, Friday, Shabbos. You got Yom Tov Wednesday night through Thursday, and Thursday night, all of Friday. Friday night is Shabbos, no matter what you're going to do, right? So therefore, in that situation only, okay, Shabbos cannot use Yom Tov as a slave. I'm not using Yom Tov as a day to prepare for Shabbos. But what I do instead is I say, before Yom Tov ever started, meaning 2.5 days before Shabbos started, I start cooking the food for Shabbos. I cook something that's going to stay, such as a hard-boiled egg. And I bake something, such as matzah. I don't have to do the boiling. I don't have to do the baking. I can buy a box of cookies, and I can buy a jar of gefilte fish that was boiled. But I need to have tavshilin, types of cooking. One boil and one bake. I need 2 specific types of cooking, boiling and baking, that were done before Shabbos occurred. I don't have to do it. I can buy it done and complete. And these have to be foods that will last through the Yom Tov and stay for Shabbos. So if I buy, the standard thing people do is they just have one hard-boiled egg and they grab a piece of matzah. Okay? They set these things up before Yom Tov starts. They say the bracha that we're going to go through in a minute. And they set it aside. They've already started the cooking process for Shabbos before Yom Tov started. And then that means that what they're doing on Yom Tov is they're not using Yom Tov as the slave for Shabbos. They're just continuing the arev, like this was saying. They're mixing the cooking that they did before Yom Tov started, and they continue to cook into Yom Tov. So therefore, if Yom Tov is not being used as a slave to cook for Shabbos, but it's just a continuation of the previous cooking bleeding into Yom Tov, the rabbis allowed such a thing. If you did not make the Eruv Tavshilin, you not only are not allowed to cook for Shabbos, you can't even light your Shabbos candles for Shabbos. Because when you make the Eruv, you're saying any action that I will do that would be prohibited on Shabbos, that is allowable on Yom Tov, which is only allowable on Yom Tov for purposes of Yom Tov, well, am I cooking? Am I lighting those candles on Friday afternoon for Yom Tov? No. I'm lighting those candles on Friday afternoon for Shabbos. So that means I'm doing a malacha, even from a pre-existent flame. I'm doing a malacha on Yom Tov for Shabbos. How is that allowed? Only if you have an Eruv Tavshilin. If you did not make an Eruv Tavshilin, do not light your Shabbos candles.
Are you saying if you're not in an era?
No. Eruv Tavshilin is when I take these foods, these two types of cooking that I started. Let's take the standard example you guys have in America. Wednesday night is Sukkot. Thursday night is Sukkot. Mm-hmm. Friday night, Shabbos. Okay? Mm-hmm. When does Sukkot end? 3 seconds before Shabbos. Okay, not even 3. No. The second that Shabbos comes in, and Sukkot ends. Okay? There is no 3 seconds. Okay? So therefore, when am I going to light my Shabbos candles? On Shabbos? Forget it. Am I going to light it on Yom Tov? How do you light for Shabbos on Yom Tov? You can only do a malach on Yom Tov. For Yom Tov. But if I start cooking for Shabbos before Yom Tov, then the rabbis say you're not using Yom Tov as a slave. The Eruv, this is what we're talking about, the Eruv. The mixing of starting the activities for the preparation of Shabbos started before Yom Tov ever started. Mm-hmm. And that means I set aside this hard-boiled egg, which will last from one to the other, okay, and a piece of matzah. It's going to last. I do not eat them on Yom Tov because if the Eruv ceases to exist, kiss your Shabbos candles goodbye. Okay, and you have peanut butter and jelly for Shabbos. That's it.
How do you put these 2 items, boiled or baked?
It has to be boiled.
Makes it okay to light the Shabbos candles.
Wait, say it again. It was a little muffled. What?
If you've made these 2 items, if you make 2 items, either boiled or baked, before the first Yom Tov starts, then it makes it okay to light the Shabbos candles.
From a pre-existent flame, right? Whatever you'd be allowed to do on Yom Tov, you can do it for Shabbos, okay? You, of course, have to follow the laws of Yom Tov, okay? It has to be pre-existent flame, the whole bit, right? Only those, okay, fine. Now, the thing is, it's not or boiled or baked. You need one boil and one baked. It has to be 2 different types of cooking. It's a very complicated Talmudic argument why you need 2 out of the 3. But if you only did one type, it doesn't work. You need to have one boil and one baked. That's why it's not called Eruv Tavshil. It's called Eruv Tavshilin, the commingling of different types of cookings. Okay? Even if you are a guest at someone's house for Yom Tov and Shabbos, you still have to have an Eruv Tavshilin. Why? If you're going to light your Shabbos candles, and you did not make an Eruv Tavshilin, what right do you have to light your Shabbos candles on Yom Tov? Now, what if the person at the head of the house made the Eruv? Well, it's your mitzvah. Did he call you before you came? No, let's say you're arriving 10 minutes before candle lighting on Wednesday afternoon. The guy who owns the house made the Eruv Tavshilin at 12 noon Wednesday afternoon. You know, he's like, I don't want to forget. I'm just doing it. Did he call you and say, hey, Shira, can I be your shaliach? Because it's your mitzvah. How dare somebody steal your mitzvah? If it's going to be convenient for you and you give him permission, he has the right. Otherwise, he's not allowed to steal your mitzvah. And therefore he did it without your permission, then it didn't work. So therefore, you need what you need to do is, let's say you're going to someone's house. You know you're going to be late, or you're coming in like, you like burning the tires on the way in. Right? Okay, so call the guy Wednesday morning and say, look, Reuven, when you're doing an Eruv Tavshilin today, have me in mind. Number one on your list. It's got to be done for you, okay? Or you can do it yourself. Let's say you decided, it's been a lousy, whatever, past 2 weeks. I'm treating myself. I'm selling the house for Pesach. I'm going away to one of these hotel things, okay? $3,000 or not, I'm just, forget it. Sell the house. Okay, so, my wife just gave birth. The kids just threw up. Goodbye. Okay, so we're going away. So now you'd say, well, I'm not cooking. I'm not doing anything. Yeah, but your wife's going to light the Shabbos candles. And a number of other things. Let's say you're going to, do something, any small act, cleaning up the room in honor of Shabbos on Yom Tov. Anything you do on Yom Tov to prepare for Shabbos, can't do it unless you have an Eruv Tavshilin. So even as a person in a hotel, everything's being done for you. You must do an Eruv Tavshilin. And don't give into this thing. Let's say it's one package deals. They have these, people come to Israel. They're going to Tiberias for Pesach, and everybody wait on you hand and foot, And they say, we did the Eruv Tavshilin for you. Blow it out your ear. You asked me. I spoke to the guy who was doing it before he did it. Oh, I had you in mind. Yeah, but did I tell you to have me in mind? If you did not make a Mishliach, it did not work. There is one exception. And people rely on this way too much. They don't understand the halach behind it. Let's say Yael is, in labor. She's pushing out the next 6 babies right there on Erev Pesach. And so Shmuel is a little bit going out of his mind. They're running to the hospital. There's no time to make the Eruv Tavshilin. And they literally cannot do it. They're stuck. Or, let's say that they made their Eruv. And Ari decided to go over to the cabinet and eat it on the first day of Yom Tov. They're stuck, right? They did everything that they could do, and they're stuck. If it was not because of laziness, then the rabbi of the community makes an Eruv, Tavshilin, and he says, for me and for all of the people in this community. What that means is not that he's doing it and everyone's covered. They're covered if they did everything that they could, and they got stuck. Either stuck that they couldn't do it, or stuck that it was done, someone ate it. Then, if you're living in a Jewish community, the rabbi has made it for the whole community, it will work. But if you're just lazy and you didn't do it, it works once in a lifetime. Once. One allowance for a person being forgetful. After that, doesn't work. We had a person come over to us who thought, oh, well, the rabbi does it for everybody in the community. And I noticed, she's doing a lot of things. She's lighting candles. She's doing a lot of things. I said to her, did you make an Eruv? And she said, no, I never make an Eruv. We've been guests for the past, these are childless people. They say, we're always away for Yom Tov. We can't stand being home alone. It's sad. So we never make an Eruv. The rabbi of the community makes the Eruv. It's a Tavshilin. We asked, and the rabbi said they've been doing this, done it more than once. She can't light the Shabbos candles. Period. There's no allowance whatsoever. Nothing. And she can't even, she thinks, she can be in that person's house and she can help them put stuff onto the onto the blech before Shabbos starts and everything else. It's Yom Tov, lady. You can't do anything. Nothing. So, okay. Okay. Let's say, for example, perfect example. Yom Tov, Shabbos. Let's call it Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos. You're living outside the Eruv. On Rosh Hashanah, you're carrying your machzor, this big fat book, okay? And, next to your seat, there's only space for, one book. And you like your Portuguese translated Siddur. So, after the afternoon, the second afternoon service, what do? You bring home your machzor, which you're not going to use tomorrow. It's the second day of Yom Tov already. You finished mincha, you're fine. And you're carrying to the shul your Siddur for Shabbos in your native tongue that you like. You have an Erev Tavshilin? What's it got to do with Erev Tavshilin? What's it got to do with cooking? Once I make the Erev Tavshilin, all other malachas, including carrying, that are done for purposes of Shabbos, that are done on Yom Tov, are allowed. If I don't have an Erev Tavshilin, why are you carrying your Shabbos Siddur on Yom Tov to the shul? I'm going to use it on Shabbos. Yeah, but there's no Erev. I'm just carrying. I'm allowed to carry in Yom Tov. You're only allowed to carry in Yom Tov for Yom Tov. You're not allowed to carry in Yom Tov for Shabbos, unless you have an Erev Tavshilin. And you've started the process of preparing for Shabbos before Yom Tov ever started. In other words, this issue of not treating Yom Tov as the slave for Shabbos is extremely serious. And if you did not do an Erev Tavshilin by starting the process for none of the malachas, not carrying, not lighting, not borer, nothing is allowed to be done on Yom Tov for Shabbos. Okay. Not even cleaning the room, which isn't a malacha. Nothing can be done for Shabbos if you did not make the Erev Tavshilin. Yeah.
Say you did have the Erev Tavshilin. Now, what about bringing your machzor home? Since it's not gonna, you're not gonna be using it anymore. Say for a Yom Tov.
You're protecting your machzor. That's what you have. You don't want to get it stolen or lost. Okay, it's Yom Tov. That's fine. You've got it. That's fine. Okay. But bringing your Shabbos door, what the heck's that got to do with Yom Tov?
Okay.
Now, if you have, it happens sometimes. It happens less often. I have first day Yom Tov. Second day Yom Tov is Shabbos. Usually, now here's a very serious thing. They will ask this in the Beis Din, almost for sure, if they're a reputable Beis Din, okay? Well, they sometimes have other questions. I'm not saying like they have to ask this question, but it's very common. What's the difference between 2-day Yom Tov going into Shabbos and 1-day Yom Tov going into Shabbos? The answer is the Erev Tavshilin will only allow me to cook or do any of these melachas on the Yom Tov that is smashed up right next to Shabbos. If I have first day Yom Tov, second day Yom Tov, Shabbos, then according to the Torah, that means I have first day Yom Tov, Wednesday. Which is Wednesday night, right? Thursday night, it's not Yom Tov according to Torah. It's only rabbinically a Yom Tov. So how dare I cook or do anything on Wednesday night, Thursday for Friday night? I've got a day in between that's not Yom Tov according to the Torah. I'm only allowed to use the Eruv Tavshilin for the Yom Tov that is smashed right up next to Shabbos. Mm-hmm. If I only have a 2-day thing, Rosh Hashanah, let's say the second day of Rosh Hashanah is Shabbos. Okay? There's only Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos. Second, Shabbos is also Rosh Hashanah. Okay, whatever it is, okay? But then, yes, of course I can do these cooking and things for Shabbos on the first day of Yom Tov if I have the Eruv Tavshilin. Because they're right next to each other.
As long as it's leading right into Shabbos.
Right, but I am only allowed to use the Eruv Tavshilin to do these malachas for Shabbos on the Yom Tov that is immediately touching Shabbos. I can't say, well, I'm making a nice chicken soup on Thursday morning for the Thursday afternoon meal. Let's add another half a gallon because, I'm having 15 people for Shabbos. What are you talking about? There's a day in between. That day in between, according to Torah, is a rabbinic holiday. So according to Torah, I've got Yom Tov, not holiday, Shabbos. How dare you cook on Yom Tov for Shabbos? Okay? Because there's a possibility of doing in between. Therefore, only the day that is exactly touching Shabbos, that's when the Eruv Tavshilin comes into effect. When do you eat the Eruv Tavshilin? On Shabbos. It's got to exist until Shabbos comes in. Don't freak out when Ari eats it, okay? You go and realize that, you got the rabbi of the community you can rely on in a situation of emergency, okay? But set yourself up for technical success. But if, let's say, you're going somewhere else, like you and your wife decide to go to the Greek islands for, Passover or whatever it is, okay? What rabbi of the community? The rabbi in Israel, forget it. Okay, it's got to be that there's a rabbi of a community. You're considered part of the community. He's got you all in mind in case there's an emergency. Otherwise, blow it out of here. There's no such thing. Okay, all right. Remember, again, you can buy the oiled and baked item, okay? Box of cookies or a boxed cake, okay? Fine. And the boiled thing, can of gefilte fish, it's fine. Doesn't even have to be closed. It can be opened. You have one piece of gefilte fish left in there, in the jar. No problem, okay? One second. Here is the blessing. This is what you say. You set these things aside before the first Yom Tov starts. And you put them somewhere where the little kids aren't going to get them. You say, "Blessed are you, Hashem our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his mitzvahs and commanded us upon the mitzvah of Eruv. With this Eruv, it will be permitted for us to bake and to boil and to enwrap, which is like what you do with the crock pot, and to light flames via the passions of fire from a pre-existent fire, and to do all other needs of Yom Tov on Yom Tov for Shabbos, for us, and then in parentheses the rabbi would say, and for all the Jews living in this city."
What bracha is that?
You will find it's the bracha that you say when you're setting aside the Eruv before Yom Tov starts. Okay? This is only done when I have Yom Tov Shabbos, or plain old Yom Tov straight to Shabbos. Either one. You will find this when it's in the Siddur, in an Art Scroll Siddur. It's very easy to find. It's in the thing under Yom Tov. Most Siddurs, it's in the same place. Okay? You've got the section called Passover, Shavuos, and Sukkot. It always starts with looking for the chametz. The next thing is Eruv Tavshilin.
Okay.
It's like right there. Okay. This section is usually after. Usually see this in most siddurs. It's after Shabbos. Then there's Hallel. Then there's you've got to get into the issues of the different things that are said for the different 3 Yom Tovs, okay? Right there, before Yom Tov start, you've got the thing of preparing for Pesach, right? Searching for the chametz. And then right after, it has Eruv, what do you call it? Tavshilin.
Okay.
Be careful, you're not dealing with Eruv Chatzeros. Eruv Chatzeros is when you're setting up an Eruv in your town or around your thing. That's like, so you can walk. That's a carry. That's a different thing. Eruv Tav Shilin is the one that's dealing with cooking. From Tav Shil, Bashel, cook. Okay? Tav Shilin. You don't want to say the Eruv about making a fence. You're trying to, cook. Okay? Different things. Okay, again, listen to the words. It's very careful. Blessed be the Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with the mitzvahs and commanded us on the mitzvah of Eruv. With this Eruv, it will be permitted for us to bake, boil, and wrap, and heat, and to light flames from passages of fire from pre-existent fire, and to do all other needs, including the carrying and stuff like that, on Yom Tov for Shabbos, for us and for all Jews living in the city, by the rabbi. But the thing is, you understand what's happening here. This is only allowing those things which are generally allowed on Yom Tov. But what's different is I'm using those allowances of Yom Tov that are not allowed on Shabbos. I'm using those allowances of Yom Tov for some day that is not Yom Tov, which is generally prohibited. When it's Shabbos, which is coming afterwards, the rabbis allowed it. Okay, fine. Now, did that. Okay. We're coming up to an extremely difficult halacha because so many people don't follow it correctly. I'm going to start by saying in Masechet Sanhedrin, it states in the Talmud that a person who does not follow the Yom Tov properly, not the Yom Tov, the Moed, which is talking about the intermediate days of the Moed, does not follow the laws of the Moed properly, does not have a portion in the world to come. It doesn't say this about most of the mitzvahs. It's extremely strict. But we see, unfortunately, that people walk around and think that Chol HaMoed is a free-for-all. What I mean by Chol HaMoed is you've got on Pesach and on Sukkot, you've got the first 2 days of Yom Tov, you've got the last days, the intermediate days. People think, oh, so I have to eat matzah or I have to eat inside the Sukkah, that's it. That's it? What about the laws of Chol HaMoed? Oh, well, we do whatever we want. Really? Just like there are 39 malachas on Shabbos, and there are some leniencies on certain malachas for Yom Tov, there are also 39 malachas with more leniencies, but still all 39 malachas are intact on Chol HaMoed. But you see people driving in cars. You can, under certain circumstances. Does it have to be life and death? No. We have 5 categories that when we get into one of those categories, many of the malachas are permissible for those reasons. But as soon as you get out of those reasons, it's prohibited. I was explained, I think one of my students said it the best way. He said, Rabbi, Shabbos is easy, Yom Tov is hard, and Chol HaMoed is the worst. I said, really? It's usually like Chol HaMoed, it's very simple. He said, no. On Shabbos, everything is prohibited. Forget it. Like, I don't have to think. He said, on Yom Tov, I have to think. He said, on Chol HaMoed, I have to have my brains on all the time. Because so much of the time, I'm doing malachas all day long, but I have to think. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. What? Right, that's the whole point. Chol HaMoed means it is the time. What's Moed? Convocation. Is the time when you're getting closest to Hashem. It's when you're sitting there for a whole week, and every single action you do, you have to stop and think. Much more than Shabbos, Chol HaMoed proves, who are you? Are you a servant of Hashem? You have to constantly think. Yes, I get in the car. Yes, I spend money. Yes, I go around. on Chol Hamoed, but stop and think every single action. Now it's complicated. We'll get there. Okay. The Holy Chafetz Chaim said that lots of bad things about people who are lazy about Yom Tov. It's a problem. All right, so here we go. Let's start understanding the exceptional situations. Okay, they're fixed. There are 5 things, right? As we go on, you're gonna be given a lot more examples. In order to understand this, because it's really complicated, I'm gonna give you the 5 categories. You're not gonna get it all. We'll go back and more examples, because you can't. It's like starting to drive, right? Do you start driving on the highway? No. You go, first of all, into a car that's off. And here, push down the clutch, okay? Turn the thing, and it doesn't work, right? And you would, a simulated driving. Now, when the guy feels like you go into a parking lot that's closed, right? And there's no trees, okay? And, they start moving. Then you go to the backwood roads. And then they bring you out with another guy. And okay, same thing here. There's 5 rules. None of them make sense on their own. You need the whole set. But I can't teach you a whole set. We have to go through 1 through 5. Then we'll go back and we'll start understanding the whole thing. Okay? What are these 5 rules? Basically, Chol Hamoed, everything's Aser, just like Shabbos, just like Yom Tov. But when I hit one, not all 5, one of the 5 rules, if you're found in one of those categories, nearly every single malacha drops momentarily for that situation. So whereas Yom Tov, there are only a few situations where the malacha is slightly changed. On Chol Hamoed, there are many situations where the halachas massively change. But as soon as they're over, then you're not in that situation, buddy. It's just like Shabbos. Okay, so here we go. Better stated, it's more like Yom Tov, but okay, so here we go. The general rule with Chol Hamoed is if the action would be permitted because of one of these categories, then the action is permitted. Even though most of the malachas may be permitted depending upon if the action fits into one of these categories, yet still certain things are always prohibited. Artisan labor, which means something where you have to be taught how to do it, such as sewing, woodworking, masonry, writing. You say, writing? Right. Go to most of the world. Not most of the world, but go to India, go to Africa. Who knows how to write? It takes years to teach somebody how to write. Okay? It is a skill. Probably you spend more time teaching a child how to write than you teach somebody how to becoming a plumber. Okay? Seriously, it is a massive skill to be able to write. All right? And therefore, it goes under this category. You cannot write on Chol Hamoed in a normal way, ever. Now, in the last of the 5 categories, some of these things are yes allowed. But let's go through 1 through 4. We'll hit 5 at the end. First category, Davar Ha'aved. Right here. Here it is. Davar Ha'aved. Here it's on the screen. It means lost opportunity. This is not such a simple category. I'll give an extreme example, and then we'll calm it down. Okay? You're going to find by the end, although you have to think on Chol Hamoed, it's actually pleasant. Chol Hamoed can be pleasant once you know the rules. Okay? But let's start with extreme, because if we don't get extreme, you're not going to understand it. And then we'll move to the lenient. Okay. no, it is not considered a lost opportunity on Chol Hamoed if you miss taking a picture of your child on a swing in your backyard. So therefore, oh, I'm off from work. Let's take a picture of the kid in the backyard holding a piece of matzah. It's not a lost opportunity. Same now that I take pictures on Yom Tov, on Chol Hamoed. Chill it. There are times you can. Okay. But it would be a considered lost opportunity to take a picture of a relative that you barely see. And, you know, grandma's 119. She's and a half. The next time she comes here, she'll be 120, right? In a box. So I'd like to take a picture of her now while she's still standing. She's on this side of the grass. Okay, so can I? Yes. That's a lost opportunity. Is there anything in between? Yes. There's a lot in between the kid on the swing with a piece of matzah and grandma's last visit. We'll get to it. I'm just trying to explain to you what the categories are, the details, and how to make this work nicely and smoothly. We'll get to it later. But you understand that there's a category called, is it a lost opportunity or is it not a lost opportunity? Okay. Under this category comes a subcategory called dire need. If I would lose my job...
Dire what?
Dire need. Serious need, right? Let's say I lose my job if I don't go to work during Chol Hamoed. Then that's a Devar Ha'aved. That's a lost opportunity. If I would not have enough money to pay for rent if I didn't go to work, even though my boss is fine, he's very open to different religions, okay? But, like, you get paid by the hour. You finish your sick days, that's it. I'm not going to be able to pay rent. It's also a lost opportunity. It's a Devar Ha'aved. If I'll fail the course, if I miss the entire week of college, then I can go and write the notes. I can even write the notes. But with two changes. I have to pick some type of a ink that I'd never write, get like purple ink, or something like that. Okay, and I have to write across the lines, or with the opposite hand. Two distinctions need to be made. Let's say I need to sign my credit card. I need to get gas in my car. I'm driving to the food store, which I'm allowed to do on Chol Hamoed. I'll explain why, okay? But I have to sign my credit card. Do it with your opposite hand and with like a different colored pen. Oh, it's on one of those electric things that they have now. So, like, you just scribble it slightly differently than regular and with the opposite hand. Okay? Maybe, like, not on the line. They want the line like this, so pretend to be autistic. Okay, do it, that one. Okay, okay. While I can go to this job in my car, because it's a lost opportunity. If I don't get there, there goes my job. There goes my rent. Okay? I am not allowed to stop in at a store and say, oh, look, they got a sale on makeup. Who cares? Okay? But I'm right near the makeup store. Come on, I'll save $20. Forget it. Okay? Remember what it says in the template. A person who does not follow the laws of Chol Hamoed properly does not get a place in the world to come. Okay? And while I'm at work, I'm not allowed to doodle with my pen. I'm sitting there on the phone. Yes, Hassensef Incorporated, what idiocy do you want today? And I'm sitting there, like, drawing pictures of what I think the boss should really look like. But, I'm not allowed to do it. But I'm at work. So what? You're at work. Doesn't mean everything's allowed. You're allowed to keep your job. You're not allowed to do everything you would do on a normal day that you'd be at the job. You have to think about the malachas. But let's say, for example, I'm a secretary. I make 350 phone calls a day for the this lousy boss. And then in the middle of the day, I'm a little bored. I got a moment. I say, hey, Sally, how you doing? What's up? Really? You pushed those numbers? Do you realize every time you pushed one of those buttons, those 5 malachas, you think you're allowed to call your friend to say, what's up? On Chol Hamoed? To call your mother and see how her health is, no problem. Let's do the mitzvah for just 1 second. Hello? Yeah, I'm teaching. What's up? Say this slowly. What? Okay. Moment. Hold on. I'll tell you in 1 minute. Hold on. My daughter's asking me a terrible question. I'm going to call her for an answer. Just a minute. Hold on. Shabbos. Shabbos. Oh. I'm looking. Just a minute. Just 1 second, Tadasa. Hold on. Kiddush because of 656. 656. And it's 1 in the morning. Okay, 1 minute. Oh, okay, fine. 7:22. Just a minute. Don't go anywhere, Hadassah. 7:22. Where the heck is it? Oh. 1 second. Oh. There we go. I don't see it. One minute. I don't know. I'll tell you where you can find out right now. I'm in the middle of a class. I could do it for you. Okay, let me just call Mrs. Goldwasser. She has these things on the tip of her tongue, okay? 657, in the middle of class right now. I can't look this up for you right now. 656. Sorry. Oh, okay. She got it. Okay. Anyway, what? Where are we?
You were talking.
Okay. You can't call your friends to chat, but you can't check on some other chat.
Let's say somebody is not well, lonely after surgery, and it's an issue of bikur cholim, right? Of visiting the sick. You can visit on the phone, right? It would go under the third category called needs of the moed. Some of the needs of the moed are mitzvahs that need to be done on the moed, and it would be allowed. But is it a need of the moed to just say, "Hey, Sally, what's up"? No. Okay, so when you're picking up that phone on Chol Hamoed, you have to say, why am I making this phone call? Is this something that needs to be done on the Moed? It's a sick Jew. They need to be called. My mom is not well, right? And, even if she's not Jewish, I have a rabbinic obligation of honoring my parent. Absolutely no problem. Pick up that phone and don't just say, how's the doctor's appointment? Okay, Ma, can't talk, goodbye. No. Once you're allowed to speak to the person, they need to be cheered up. They need to be felt like they're being cared for. You can speak to them, okay? No problem. But just you would like to say, hey, what's up? Just to pass the time. No. Okay? Okay, so now let's go into the next categories. Second categories. The first one was just lost opportunity or dire need, right? Same basic thing. Second category is called ochel nefesh. Really means things of food. I can do malachas, many of the malachas, to get food. I can even travel to the food store with a car, and I can even write the check in a strange way, okay, and bring the food home. If it is far away and I cannot get this food so easily, then I can even stock up on the kosher food that I'm getting at this kosher store that's going to be used after the holiday. But if the store is close and I can get there generally, then I'm not allowed to stock up. What does this have to do with close or not close? Listen to it. First category is lost opportunity. Second category is food. What about when they bang into each other? For example, my brother called me up. Is he allowed to call me on Chol HaMoed? Yes, because of the third category called needs of the Moed. He has a halachic question about the Moed. He said, Zalman, I know I'm allowed to travel to Austin, Texas, which is an hour and a half away. Because in San Antonio, all you can basically get is, matzah and a chicken, done. And maybe some bad Manna Shevetz wine, right? So he said, that and Robitussin will clear your throat. So he said, I'm sitting here at the store, and my children and I are salivating. There's this kosher store an hour and a half away. We don't have kosher cheese all year round. They've got a whole aisle of kosher cheese. And they've got, and this, it happens to be this stuff is all kosher for Passover. Anyway, he said, well, we're not going to eat this all on Passover. But I got a car. I want to stock the car from the floor to the ceiling with all this stuff. I said, okay, let me ask you a question. Would you travel an hour and a half each way to pick up cheese on a regular weekday? I said, no. Are you planning on going back here other than Pesach? He said, Pesach, I have time off. And we didn't have time before Pesach because we're cleaning the house. So I knew we had our box of matzah, we had our chicken and some vegetables, and as soon as Yom Tov's over and it's Chol HaMoed, we're going to Austin to pick up some kosher for Passover food so we don't starve to death on this holiday. So when we got to the store, we had no idea what we were going to see. I said, there's absolutely no problem. Stuff the car with food from the floor to the ceiling. No problem whatsoever. Because it's a lost opportunity. But why is he there in the first place? He's allowed to get there in the first place because he needs the food for Yom Tov or for Chol HaMoed. But once you're there, it's a lost opportunity. You're not going to drive an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back for a piece of cheese. Yeah. Okay? Name is not Mickey. Okay? All right. So I know you would. Okay, but anyway, so third category, which you've now alluded to twice, and you're going to start to see, this, you're already starting to see, each one of these categories bleed into the other categories. But don't mistake it. Think that you need more than one. One category is enough to allow most of the malachas to drop, except for artisan labor. And the fifth category, even artisan labor is allowed. We'll get there. Third category, Tzarkei Moed, needs of the holiday. This translates as needs of the Moed. It includes anything done to enhance the religious enjoyment of the Moed. This includes trips with proper activities. Let's say, for example, this is really the only time our family ever gets together. Kids are in school, mom is working, dad's working. When do we ever get to have a picnic? Okay, it's going to be with matzah, but like, when do we ever have a chance to like get to the zoo and see the wonderful creations that Hashem has?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when do we ever get to go to the botanic gardens and just like really realize the beauty of this world and spend some time together as a family? So it's enhancing, but say, but when do we ever get a chance to go on a roller coaster? Like, you have to use your brains here. It's got to be related to the word moed, convocation. This is a week of recognizing Hashem in everything you do. Is this a family activity, which is a wholesome activity that is going to bring you not only closer to yourselves, but also to Hashem? Are you going to see and have appreciation of the natural world around you? Appreciate Hashem and thank Hashem for what you have? When I go to the zoo with the kids on Chol Hamoed, I specifically make a point of when we're sitting there and having lunch, whether it be in the sukkah that they set up, or whether it be, on our Pesach, tablecloth that we lay out on the grass, okay, whichever it is I make sure that I say, bring up to the kids, see these different animals, look what Hashem has done, look at the amazing things of the creation. It should be that the activity is also got a religious aspect to it. And yes, the family having fun together is also part of it. But it's not one divorced from the other. Okay. The lines here are like hairs. Am I doing this for the honor of the Moed, or am I doing this for the honor of myself? Sometimes you have to really sit there and think. Your family wants to go and do an activity. Sit back and think. Why are we doing this activity? Why am I getting in this car? Why am I using money to pay this bill? Why am I going over issues of books and this? Why am I doing this? Does this have anything to do with enhancing my relationship with Hashem? Which, yes, when spending some time with the family is also, you're having a positive family thing. Yes, it can be. But if it's completely divorcement, I just really love roller coasters. So do it some other time. So take a day off of work, go on a roller coaster. Why do you have to do this in Chol Hamoed?
Right.
Is it completely prohibited to go on a roller coaster in Chol Hamoed? It really depends on the person, but you have to really sit there and remember that Hashem is looking over your shoulder and answer the question honestly. Is this enhancing the Moed, or is this just a free-for-all? If you think it's a free-for-all, remember, the Talmud tells us the person who does not treat the Moed properly, halachically, doesn't have a place in the world to come. This isn't a joke. Every action you do, think that the Ribono Shel Olam is looking over your shoulder. And are you able to answer him? Yes, this is for enhancing the Moed. If it is, go ahead and do it. Fourth category, which is really the fifth category, because remember, the first category splits up into lost opportunity or dire need. Now, by the way, you saw how we already did the leniency on lost opportunity. We went from grandma dying, and this is her last trip, to going to the store and getting the food for Yom Tov, for Chol Hamoed, and seeing stuff that I'm not traveling an hour and a half each way, right? A lost opportunity doesn't have to be the last time you're ever going to see somebody. But it could be, hey, we're on this trip, and when am I ever going to see all of my kids together at this waterfall? Not a chance. Take the picture. But I have some free time. I'm going to go around taking pictures of the flowers in the front yard. Talking about Chol Hamoed. So, Okay, so now the fifth category, really fourth, right? So, because the first one's split into two, it's like A and B. Tzarkei Tzibur, needs of the community. This is the most lenient of all of them. Whereas in the other categories, generally artisan labor is prohibited. Here, when it's a necessity of the community, it's permitted. Let's say, for example, you're living in a crime-ridden area. The lock of the shul breaks. You can hire the locksmith. You can call him. You can write him the check. The writing can be done in a different way, so do it. And he can fix it well. Let's say that the mikvah, chas v'shalom, was leaking, which means sometimes digging the whole thing out, masonry, carpentry, you name it. The whole shebang is all allowed. Community needs a mikvah. The whole thing can be done. But the president of the sisterhood says, I'd like to paint the shul pink. Well, do it the day after Chol Hamoed's over. After Yom Tov's over. What are you doing? No, we really need it pink. You don't need anything pink. Okay, it's not a need. Okay, painting or fixing up is not a need. That the mikveh be kosher is a need. That the door get locked so that the people who are out there not acting so well won't get in, that's a need. If it leaves the issues of need of the community and falls into the category of wants of the community, none of the stuff is allowed. Not just the artisan labor, nothing. None of the 39 malachas. Let's try to put this all into realistic terms now. So once upon a time, I went to the botanical gardens on Chol Hamoed with family. Nice thing to do, okay? I asked him, the rabbi beforehand, he says, yes, wonders of nature, talk to your kids about what Hashem does, okay, yeah, fine. I paid for the bus, we get there, we schlep the stuff all over the place, okay, it's not in the Nehruv area, the whole way, no, lots of malachas, okay, allowed to get there. And of course I bring the kosher food, and it's Pesach, and I've got, cover everything over twice, and everything fine, no problem. Okay. Now I'm going to let you all know about my Yetzer Hara, okay? Some people, it's women. Some people, it's alcohol. My Yetzer Hara, plants. I love plants. If I see a plant store, I'm like a bee. So, anyway, so we're at the botanical gardens. A few weeks before, my drip system. So this is Israel. Okay, you don't turn the sprinkler on and you use 5,000 gallons to water your yard. You go jeep. Okay, and so something broke in my system. I had the system for about 10 years, and a little piece that cost about 50 cents made the few $100 system go. There's only one thing. They stopped making the pieces. They upgraded. There's now something better. But all I'm missing is this one little piece of plastic. It costs 50 cents, and I can save my entire thing. But it's not to be found anywhere. I asked a gardener, I do my own gardening, I asked, is there any place you can get? There's one place. It's very far away. If you go into their warehouse, I'm sure they have it. They said it's probably the largest nursery in the entire Middle East. It happens to be at the other end of Jerusalem. I figured I'll just water it with my hose. Where this place is about an hour and a half away each direction. Okay, it's really far. So I'm in the botanical gardens, and it took us forever to get to. It's my first time there. And I'm at the top of the hill overlooking the whole thing, and across the valley I see this huge thing, and look at the sun, That's the place. Okay, so all right. So I call up my rabbi on the phone, right? And how can I do that? Because it's in need of the moed. I had a question of a halach issue. I said, am I allowed to go into that store and buy that part? He said, you're not allowed to put it together on Chol Hamoed. That would be prohibited. But this, would you travel an hour and a half each direction to go pick up a 50-cent piece? I said, no. That's not, I'm not doing it, right? He said, okay, so you're in the area. Go over there and buy it. So I go in there and I get the piece. They have it. Of course, I get two just in case it breaks because I'm already there. You know? Anyway, and then I get out of the area of like the drip, the computerized and drip things, and I walk into. I see this plant store, the best plant store I've seen in my life. I'm salivating out of everything. I can't believe it. And I'm looking around like, oh my gosh. And so I call up the rabbi again. I say, Rabbi, where I normally go, you can get, two types of posies, and, half of them are half dead in the first place. That's it. I said, you got to see this place. It's on when it doesn't talk to me. I said, yeah, but am I allowed to buy something here? He said, again, would you travel all the way out there to get this? Now I have to start thinking. Like, maybe yes. Because if it's maybe yes, then come back after Halloween. But I really started to think, and I said, I might have a Yetzer Hara, but I have 3 jobs. There's just no way. I'm not coming all the way out here to pick up some stupid flowers. Okay, it might feel like a Yetzer Hara, but if you stop to think, I'm not traveling 3 hours. I'm just not doing it. Okay. So then I called the rabbi. So get it. You can water it in the little boxes that it comes in. You cannot plant them on Chol Hamoed. Okay, fine. So I get them, I bring them home. You're starting to understand how Chol Hamoed works. Every action you have to think. And the answers aren't so simple. And it's a combination of a bunch of different, things. Is it in need of the moed? Is it a lost opportunity? How do they get there in the first place? Needs of the moed. Why is it in need of the moed? Well, it's a very pleasant activity with the family. I'm speaking about Hashem's wonders. While I'm there, I find something. It's a lost opportunity. But what's a lost opportunity? Are the plants a lost opportunity? Well, then what? You have to think and you have to be honest. I'm gonna have to go. Let's leave it on page 102, example 3. Remember this example 3. Shmuel, you're going to write that down, okay? All right, next week, let's just take a look. Hanukkah's coming.
No, other class on Sunday, right?
Okay, wait 1 second. Who's in that class? So many people in the class on Sunday. Wait, Sunday's class is going to be on kashrut, right?
Right.
You did kashrut.
Yeah, I thought.
Josh did.
What?
I thought we were going to we were going to continue on with what we were doing, and the kashrut class was going to start, and then Travis was supposed to come back in at some point. Travis and Yale, or
Travis
Shannon.
and Shannon are doing. Okay, they are. Oh, yes, right. No. Oh, 1 second. I think we're starting with kashrut. That was. I think. Things. Now I remember what's going on. No, it's going to just be that group because that group was already about 7 different pieces of the screen. Because you got to do the kashrut. There's a bunch of other people who are starting, and then at the end of kashrut, then we've got all the other things that are going on. Because when we finish Yom Tov, and they finish kashrus. Then we'll pull Travis into this group. Okay? Because then we're all, because they're finishing, you're finishing, and we're all fine. Okay? All right. So next week, I'm confused. I have to see what's going on with my wife. It's plans because we've got a bunch of people coming over during Hanukkah. I don't know what's happening next week.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Are we doing Sunday class or not?
No, you're not in the Sunday. Not this Sunday. No, the cautious thing is not going to take them that long. But we'll get Travis back at the end for all the other ending things. Okay, which are smaller subjects, but not yet.
Yeah, you said.
What?
No class on the 10th, like you said there was going to be.
Yeah, I guess not. Right.
Okay. No class here on Wednesday.
Yeah, as far as Hanukkah, I will get in touch with you as soon as I have my schedule, what's going on. Okay?
Okay, Rabbi.
All right. I got to go. Take care, guys.
Shalom.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Very nice class.